Welcome to episode 20 of When Safeguarding Fails, the Lizzie Gladwell Crisis. I'm Jeremy Gladwell, Lizzie's dad, and I'm telling the heartbreaking true story of how our daughter, a vulnerable young person, was taken, isolated and subjected to coercive control, and how she was cast adrift by the agencies tasked with safeguarding. The end of March 2024 marked a sombre milestone. 8 months since Lizzie had been taken from the love, safety and familiarity of her home and family. 8 months of unanswered questions and fragmented contact. One evening, both Jane and I simultaneously received a text from Lizzie. "Hi, kiss." And that was all it said. A message so brief and unassuming, but by now we understood the significance. Lizzie wasn't allowed to save our numbers, leaving her unsure as to which parent she was contacting. So she sent the same text to both of us, a fragile cry into the void. I responded almost instantly. "Hiya, kiss." Jane did likewise. An hour passed. Then another message arrived, this time with a questioning tone. "Hi, ? Kiss." I replied again, growing uneasy but keeping my tone light. Hiya, again, kiss." Another hour and a half passed. Nothing. Parental instinct told me something wasn't right. I sent another text. "I'm guessing you're not receiving our replies, kiss." No answer. Our messages weren't getting through. Both Jane and I had been blocked, again. Maybe not by Lizzie herself, maybe not even with her knowledge. In all likelihood, we had been blocked from the moment Coral learned from PC Smith that I had signed the community resolution agreement. Later that night at 10:30 p.m, my phone rang. Lizzie was calling. Her voice was small and trembling, as if she were speaking in secret. "Why haven't you replied to my texts?" she asked, confusion tinged with hurt. "I did, Lizzie," I said gently. "I replied to all your texts, but you didn't get them because I'm blocked." "You weren't blocked," she said. I said I was. She said I wasn't. "Minky, did you get my replies to your text messages?" "What replies?" she asked. I took that as a no. I read out the messages I'd sent one by one. Lizzie admitted she hadn't received them, or the ones from Jane either. "That's because I'm blocked," I said gently. "You're not blocked," Lizzie persisted. But she knew. Somewhere deep down she had to know. I was blocked, and it had been done without Lizzie's awareness or permission. Lizzie's voice was still quiet, as though trying not to be heard by others. Tearful sniffing was becoming evident. This was no adult with capacity and autonomy, confident in a decision made with full awareness. No, this was a child, frightened and upset. I paused. I left extended gaps that I refused to fill. I wanted to give Lizzie the space and opportunity to say whatever it was she wanted to say. But Lizzie didn't, or perhaps couldn't, take that step. "I wish to see you," I said, after a pause. What about Easter? Do you have any plans? Not really, she murmured. You're not going away? No. OK, I said, trying to lighten the mood. I remembered the rage room where she had been taken on Mother's Day, preventing her from seeing Jane. I asked her, "Tell me about this rage room. What did you do there?" She hesitated. Bang stuff? With a hammer? I asked. Yeah, she sniffed. Was it fun? Yeah, she whispered, her voice cracking again. Good, I said. Do you have anything to ask me? No. Another long pause. When are we going to see you, Minky? Don't know, she said tearfully. Chicken, why are you upset? I'm not, she said, but the trembling in her voice betrayed her. You sound upset, honey. I'm not. I took a deep breath. We do want to see you, and we will keep on doing all we can as your mummy and daddy to see our daughter. That's all we want. We haven't seen you since Christmas Eve, and even then it was only about 15 minutes standing outside the house. Silence. Sniffing. Sweetie, keep in touch, yeah? I said gently. Minky, talk to me. Silence. Mink, talk to me. Sniffing. What's going on? Nothing, Lizzie said. What do you need to talk about? Nothing, she said, her voice trembling. So why are you upset? Her voice broke. I'm not. Honey, we've lived with you since you were a tiny tot. We've seen you grow up. If I ask why are you upset and you're sniffing and crying, you can't say you're not upset. You are upset. I paused, letting the silence stretch. If you want to meet and talk about things, you know I will move heaven and earth to make it happen. That's all we're trying to do, sweetheart. We're making every effort to see you. Since your birthday, if you add up all the time that Mummy has seen you, it comes to less than 1 hour. A silence before I continued. That's not right, Minky. You know that. You know it's not right that you can't see your own parents, or your grandparents, or anyone else in your family. Are you in touch with anyone? Yeah. What, from the family? Yeah, Lizzie sniffed. Who are you in touch with at the minute? All. You say all, what, Grandma and Grandad? Yeah, Lizzie said. But we knew she wasn't in touch with Grandma and Grandad. Amy? Yeah, Lizzie said. But we knew that her cousin Amy hadn't been replying, given that her own dad was on bail following the arrest because of the false rape accusation. I paused. Are you really? Yep, she said, but the tears were spilling over. When did you last speak to Grandma and Grandad? I asked. A while ago, she admitted, her voice barely audible. Mink, I said softly, it doesn't have to be like this. You're not Liz, you're Lizzie. Remember who you are. In the background, indistinct noises grew louder. Muffled but tense voices became clearer. Then came the sound of a loud barking of dogs, sharp and chaotic. Shouting, sharp tones, a sudden cacophony of chaos, a jarring clash of sounds, a discordant wall of noise. There was a mob in the room with her. She had been found. And Lizzie suddenly flipped. "Please get him off the phone!" Lizzie cried, her muted tears now replaced with unmistakable terror. Coral's voice could be heard, harsh and accusing, cutting through the chaos. "What's he done?" "Get him off the phone!" Lizzie sobbed, her voice breaking completely. Coral again. "Where is he?" And then the line went dead. I stared at the screen, the empty silence pressing in around me. My heart ached with helplessness, with love, and with the unbearable weight of the fear in Lizzie's fragile voice. For several weeks, a senior safeguarding professional from the Methodist Church had been supporting us in our struggle. I don't just mean our local church, I mean the Methodist Church. Thomas Scrimshaw was highly experienced in frontline safeguarding services and had held upper management positions in adult social care. Now working for the Methodist Church, he delivered safeguarding training and was the key contact for any queries or concerns. Thomas Scrimshaw was very concerned. When we first discussed the case with him, he was completely bewildered as to why the agencies had refused to meet with us at all, ever. As a first action, Thomas said that he would make contact with Focus Adult Social Care. He would liaise with them, and he was confident that he would be able to set up a round-table meeting. He tried. He really did. When attempting to arrange a meeting, he faced the runaround, was ignored and stonewalled, with no one at Focus Adult Social Care willing to take responsibility for meeting with him or us. No meeting has ever taken place. By the time this distressing call took place with Lizzie, Scrimshaw was already very well aware of the institutional obfuscation and misdirection tactics of Focus Adult Social Care. I had recorded the call with Lizzie because it was necessary to capture information and evidence. Focus Adult Social Care dismissed everything I said as a misunderstanding. Gary Atkinson had said, "I need evidence." Humberside Police acted as the enforcement wing of Coral's coercive control. Someone needed to gather hard evidence of what was happening to Lizzie. And since the agencies responsible refused to care, it fell to us. In an online meeting with Scrimshaw, I played the recording of the disturbing call that ended with Lizzie distressed and terrified. Lizzie wasn't afraid of me. That was clear from the rest of the call. But terrified because she had been found, because of the chaos, and because of the consequences of being caught talking to her own dad. That's precisely why she instinctively threw me under the bus with her "get him off the phone" plea, trying to make it sound like I had called her. But I hadn't. she had called me. And that would be evident if Coral checked Lizzie's call log, and she surely would. When that happened, whatever Lizzie was terrified of would presumably come to pass. Thomas Scrimshaw, upon hearing the recording, instantly recognised its significance and the implications of what might happen next. "Right," he said. "First thing in the morning, I will be making an urgent safeguarding referral to Focus Adult Social Care." We were relieved. If Thomas Scrimshaw, a safeguarding professional of notable position and experience, if he made such a referral and marked it as urgent, then surely, Focus Adult Social Care would finally recognise the truth of what we were saying and act to safeguard Lizzie. The next morning, true to his word, Thomas Scrimshaw made an urgent referral to Focus Adult Social Care. He informed them that he had heard a recording of a phone call which led him to believe there was an immediate risk to Lizzie. What was the response of Focus Adult Social Care? Nothing. Scrimshaw did not get any response from them. Focus Adult Social Care left Lizzie to face the consequences on her own. Why was Lizzie so frightened of being caught on a call with her own dad? If she wasn't afraid of the Wilson Clark response, she could simply have said, "I've got to go now, Daddy, bye," like anyone else would have done when interrupted. Why didn't her distress raise alarms with those with professional awareness? What had happened to Lizzie that instilled such an intense response? How could this be seen as her informed choice to remain in such a state of fear? Coincidentally, the next day, Jane and I had a call arranged with DC Roscoff. We played the recording for him. He listened and expressed concern, but it wasn't the same level of concern that Scrimshaw had shown. Roscoff said he would discuss it with his supervisor. We were starting to notice a pattern. DC Roscoff was very polite and amiable, but everything he said or did needed his supervisor's approval, even whether he could meet with us face to face, and the answer to that was no. I recommended that Roscoff discuss the situation with Thomas Scrimshaw for a professional safeguarding perspective. Roscoff said he would check with his supervisor. Nothing resulted from playing the recording to DC Roscoff. So although we appreciated his compassion, we were beginning to wish he also had another quality: effectiveness. 2 months in, he still had not met with Lizzie. This was our third contact with DC Roscoff, who had yet to request any information during our discussions. While he had been sympathetic, starting each conversation by asking what we wanted to share, we urgently needed action. Not wanting to overwhelm him with documents at the start, we assumed he would review the background notes, speak to us, ask questions, and request specific information. Instead, beyond a generic "What do you want to tell me?" there was little meaningful engagement. During this call, we asked if he had seen Lizzie's EHCP and FASD diagnosis. He hadn't. When we asked if they would be helpful, he agreed, despite having been on the case for 2 months. I sent them by email, but received no acknowledgement, questions, or indication that the information was reviewed or used. We discussed the rape investigation. in which Lizzie's uncle had been arrested and released on bail. My main concern was that Lizzie, due to her FASD, would be questioned in ways that didn't account for her limited understanding. While individuals with FASD can appear chatty because their expressive language is less affected by prenatal alcohol exposure, their receptive language, understanding inference and meaning, is deeply impaired. This makes them very prone to saying what they think the questioner wants to hear, putting Lizzie in a precarious position during police interviews. Both our daughter and her uncle faced the risk of a grave miscarriage of justice. On the government's own FASD Health Needs Assessment webpage, it warns that individuals with FASD are vulnerable to being coerced into improper interrogation procedures and being treated unfairly. Lizzie was at great risk of being subjected to improper interrogation procedures. Her limited life prospects were in jeopardy of being completely destroyed. She was also at risk of being influenced to say things that would worsen the situation for her uncle. I asked, I pleaded with DC Roscoff to speak to the team handling the rape investigation to ensure that they were aware of Lizzie's diagnosis and the government guidelines on interviewing individuals with FASD. This was necessary to protect Lizzie, her uncle, and Humberside Police. DC Roscoff stated that he had nothing to do with the rape investigation, as it was handled by a completely different team. He had no insight into that aspect and could not get involved. He could not see what the rape investigation team was doing, and the rape investigation team was unaware of DC Roscoff's conversations with us. Neither team had access to any notes from PC Smith in Grimsby, and none of the officers who conducted welfare visits had any knowledge of the evidence of coercive control. This astonishing web of ignorance existed entirely within one organisation, Humberside Police. Not only did the left hand not know what the right hand was doing, but it also seemed that the left hand didn't know what it was doing itself. It was impossible for Humberside Police to connect the dots if each team only saw its own dot without visibility of others. How could this happen? It all hinged on Lizzie Gladwell, yet there was no coordination or joined-up investigation. Detective Constable Roscoff would not, could not, intervene in the rape investigation even with relevant information about the victim. Not a victim of rape, but of coercive control, manipulation and exploitation. However compassionate or sympathetic Roscoff may have been, he stood no chance of making an impact in such a disjointed and dysfunctional system. Was this modern policing? But was there a change in the wind? Unseen by us, unknown to us, Lizzie had had a meeting with Gary Atkinson, and she had told him that she wanted to meet with us. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of When Safeguarding Fails, the Lizzie Gladwell Crisis. If you found it moving or helpful, or if you think our story could help others, then please like, share, or simply tell others about it. Thank you again, and join me for the next episode.